All right, guys, so I just got to the shop. It's about 12:30, a little later than I had initially planned. Sounds like Michael's got the generator going, so he must be welding. Let's go see what he's got going on.
Look how nice this feed is. Hey guys, so I got this welded on and I'm working on the bottom frame rail pieces. I tripped the circuit breaker on the generator, so I had to go turn it on right when Aaron got here. So perfect timing, I guess. I really just got here maybe a half hour ago. So.
And it looks like he's got a lot done in half an hour. I mean, this whole plate's welded on. This one looks like it's almost done. There's one more side?
Two. Like half
two. Oh, okay. It looked like it was welded that side. And then just this lower one, and then we're going to start bending some tubes. So, yeah. Let's... Alright, so Michael finished up getting these welds laid. All the plates are finally welded to the car, so we got to go ahead and clean up some of the edges, clean up some of the welds, just make it look nice, make sure everything will sit flush. So that's going to be our next step, is actually bolting the plates up to make sure everything lines up and all that. And then we'll get started on bending some of that tubing. So. Also, Michael stopped and picked up a Z32 transmission last night. He's had it sitting around for a while, like 3 or 4 years, just sitting in the garage. So we figured now's the right time, since the motor's out, it's gonna be a fresh build and everything. We might as well throw that in now because, I mean, it's already out.
I've had nothing but problems. I've gone through 3 transmissions so far in the car. So the Z32 trans is a lot stronger. Everything I've heard about it, I figured, why not?
So that's going to be coming up in the next couple months once we throw the motor in. But for now, let's get this cleaned up, get some tubing bent. So we got the plates all cleaned up. The welds are all ground off the bottom so that it just looks good. These plates will mount flush. You're not going to catch anything on the tire. It turned out really nice. We got the frame caps done too. So now it's pretty much time to start mocking up some tubing. Getting the bender all hooked up. Michael's just tightening up the plates. We just touched up on our how to bend tube, just so we can get good measurements and everything. So we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna give it a shot, and hopefully it turns out good. Well, it will turn out good. Hopefully it turns out good the first time. So I think he's firing up the generator real quick, and then we'll get started. Real quick while he's taking care of that. So last night I ordered all the stuff for the hydro, except for the actual hydro, but I got everything to put the rear end back together. I got new rotors. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do it, that I would be able to turn them out, but yeah, I found out that wasn't gonna work out. Got new rotors, I got some NICOP brake line, a bunch of fittings, brake hoses to go to the caliper. And I got to get a bulkhead fitting because I'm probably going to do that through the tunnel just so it's clean. And then we'll run the rest of the line once I get the hydro. I'm planning on going PBM, or we might make one. Kind of just depends on how things work out. We'll be taking care of that next weekend. We'll be bending more tubing, but not 1.5 inch 120 wall DOM. It'd be NICOP. 3/16 inch NICOP. So, are you ready to go? Michael's ready to go. So let's go see what he's got going on.
So I'll just need to measure out. We're just gonna use this whole piece because what we don't use, we can just cut off on the end. So on one of the ends, we need to measure out 6 inches. Let me set it where there's not a bunch of cords. We're marking 6 inches because that's what we're thinking would be a good length for the bottom hoop. It won't be out too far, so we can put the stinger pipe where it still has an angle forward, and so does the bottom U piece for the tension rod brackets. So 6 inches, we might have to trim it just a little bit, but at least it gives us some room to cut if we need to. So we got this bent to 90 degrees. We double checked it with a digital angle finder and a manual one, and we trust the manual one more because it zeroes out a lot easier, and it was dead on 90 degrees. So we took the preload off of it and it was 90 degrees. So we're gonna sit here and unload it, hopefully. All right, so now that that's bent, we're gonna try to hold this up.
You need some jack stands.
Yeah, we need some jack stands here. All right, so we mocked this up. Yes, we only have one bend, but it's so we can put our cheater bar up against here and figure out where the start of our bend needs to be. So it's the easiest way, I think, as far as you don't have any lines on the outside to actually measure center and go center out. So this is what we did. We're going to throw it back in the tube bender and bend it. Hopefully it lines up. Come on, baby. It looks good to me. So we got it all tacked up, but we are off 1/4 of an inch to the driver's side. So we had to pull it off. Aaron's grinding down the welds, so it'd be easier to weld on. And we'll get it realigned back up and show you guys after.
All right, so we got it tacked in a second time. Michael's just kind of measuring out to see what the distances are. Try to get this as square as possible. How'd we do?
What do you mean, how do we do? We're pretty even, at least referencing those holes. I mean, I don't know if my frame is straight from sitting without the tension rod brackets on, but we're centered from the holes of the tension rod brackets.
So real quick, he's just putting a couple more tacks on, make sure that everything's nice and tight. We don't want it like coming off now that we got it all golden. So what we're gonna work on next is we're actually gonna make the lower U piece. It's gonna go off of what we just made and kind of dip down and give us a place to bolt the tension rods to. And then from there, we'll make our top pieces, and then we'll be good until we get fenders and a hood on it so we can make the stinger.
Check mark, done.
All right, so now we gotta cut that long end down, and we're actually gonna go watch our good friend over at the Fabricator series, because we've relied on him so much for this. He's got another great video on how to notch tubing without a tube notcher. So this is a weird notch because it's like right on the corner too. So we're gonna go watch his video and notch this tubing so that we can get it going. Do you want to show him real quick what we're thinking?
Yeah, so it looks funny now because it's either gonna be on the inside, but this is gonna sit like so, but it's gonna have a little bit more angle because it's gonna be welded to this pipe. So there's that, or if you want to go from underneath, kind of like that.
And action.
So we got these all cut up, so it's a little bit easier to measure where we're going to be cutting the bends, or the notches.
Why are we doing this way? Well, the chop saw, the blade was too different. Like, one saw is broken, and then we were thinking that saw, or the blade from that saw would work on the other saw. And it didn't, so we don't have one. So, improvise. Alright, so both the batteries died on the Sawzall, so we got those charging. I'm gonna try to get the ball joints pressed into my lower control arms. Yeah, this isn't working. Alright, so we had some trouble. We weren't able to get it pressed in with this just because we don't have all the stuff for it, and it was kind of hard to get this in there flat so we could press it in. I was able to get it started with the hammer, but it's just kind of stuck right now. So I got to figure out a better way to get this thing pressed in here. Ow. Ow. That didn't work.
Did you get a splinter?
Yeah. No, I fucking between the two pieces of wood, hammer.
So it is now dark. The batteries are finally charged. Aaron went to go get food, so I'm kind of just waiting for him to get back because we do not have a vise, so I can't really cut this by myself without him like holding it or standing on it to put some weight. As soon as he gets back, we'll just finish that cut. We're not gonna weld because we can't run the generator. So once we get that cut, we're gonna work on Jade, and that'll be the end of the night.
So while I was off getting food, I had a good idea, something that, cause I was thinking like, what would I have done when I worked at the shop? So I figured we actually need something to support around the ball joint. And I had originally thought a socket, but socket wasn't quite big enough. Michael came up with a great idea to use like one of the things from one of his, what's it called? Jack stands. Looks good to me on this side. Alright, so we finally got these ball joints pressed in. Once we figured out kind of how to do the first one, which basically like we had a piece of pipe basically that fit over this, and then we just used the press to press it down, which is what like I would have normally done. I'm just having a brain fart. The second one went in, like we didn't even fuck up the paint on the second one, hardly at all. I had to touch this one up a little bit, but went in super quick, super easy. So I'm just gonna throw these all together. I got new snap rings, boots. They're greasable, so I gotta put those Zerk fittings in. I'm gonna finish those up real quick so that we can get back to work on Michael's car. Also, we're not going to reassemble the rear end because I've got parts on the way and they'll be here sometime this week. I can work around the rear end, but since it's kind of getting late, I want to at least get the front end as far as we can without making too much noise. And I'm not in any real rush at this point to get the rear end back together. So if we get a little farther than just getting these on once we wind down and all that and get Michael's car done, then cool. If not, I'm not gonna be upset. Alright, so we were putting the Zerk fittings in, and they actually, like, the bottom of the ball joint isn't threaded. Somehow I was able to get this one in, just like caught a piece of the metal or something and just sent it home with a wrench. But yeah, it's kind of weird. What's up with that, Moog? Like, these are legit Moog problem solvers, and they don't even have threads for the Zerk fittings. Maybe that's normal. I mean, I guess I've never really I've put on ball joints, but I've never like dealt with like too many Zerk fittings besides
Normally
Oh, I did U joints. Yeah, I've done them in U joints, but those have threads, so I don't know. We'll have to figure this out. Well, we tried everything. We tried tapping it. Ended up just being like brute force, and Michael was able to get it in. So got fresh ball joints on these control arms, and tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but next weekend we'll get everything all assembled. We'll be bending some brake line and putting some brake line fittings in. Like I said a little bit earlier, we are going to go PBM or like a custom hydro setup. But before I buy that, we'll be buying like the radiator and stuff, because that's kind of, I need to get that done. Whereas like this stuff, I've just kind of, I want it, but like I've been at that point, like I had to pull the rear end off anyways to fix some other stuff. So I figured I might as well do it then. So I've got all the, I got a radiator, fans, fan shroud, and hoses in my shopping cart. So as soon as I've got the money, they're on their way. So what we're gonna do right now is get back onto Michael's project. We gotta get that last tube cut, get it kind of mocked up, and see how it fits, and if we were able to notch it appropriately. We kind of just had to wing it, because we've got like 3 different angles that we're working with versus just like a 90 degree or whatever. So the pipe doesn't meet the other pipe at a straight degree. This is like it's bent here at a 90, it's bent on there at a 45. So it probably wasn't the best piece to learn how to notch with. But we'll figure it out, and if we have to remake it, then we have to remake it. But we're gonna get it. We're gonna conquer, and this is gonna be done completely by us. So.
All right, so we got this mocked up. It turned out a lot better than what we were thinking, because it's our first time notching, and it's kind of a fucked up notch. But we just need to bevel the edges so it actually sits flat on the front hoop. But it looks sick. I mean, we'll give you some shots of how it looks from far away and whatnot. So this idea that we had was all Aaron's idea. Most people will bend that front lower bar down to meet those tension rod brackets, but I think it turned out sick. It's different. No one does it. Yeah, like I said, it looks amazing.
Where are we going with it?
Over here, probably. High five.
Aww. Alright, so we got the Z32 trans unloaded finally. The tube front's coming along. We got the ball joints pressed in for Jade. May not look like we got a lot done, but there was a lot of learning that had to go into this tube front. Yeah. So for us, it was a really big day. We want to thank you guys for watching. Come back next weekend, because we're getting this tube front down. We're getting some work done on my 240. Wow. Also, make sure to check out the Twitch account if you're interested in that at all. I should get a few uploads this week. Maybe one tonight for you guys, so Sunday night. I'm not sure. It depends what time I get home. Also, go check out our big cartel. The link is in the bio as well. Buy some stickers if you want to help support the builds and the traveling to the events and everything that we're trying to get to, because we want to get to as many events as we can, and the more support we can get, the more that we can actually get to. So again, want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next weekend.
Peace.